please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, we aren't any the wiser except that the investigation is on, that they discovered it on 25th of January and the CBI got the complaint on 29th. But this looks like very close. Nirav Modi was with the Prime Minister's contingent as late as February 23rd to 26th. And it's just one day too late, or at least that embarrassment could have been avoided. We are not any the wiser in terms of how much more is the exposure and what was the year-wise breakup, how much is the recovery possible, is there any assessment they have made of any hard assets. All we know is that he has offered that he's going to pay back some of the dues. So at the moment it does look like it's 11,400 crore which Punjab National Bank has to shell out, and they have very poor audit systems to be able to check what one employee could get away with.
Oh yes, of course it's a case of more than one. I mean, it looks like a case of more than one employee. But for now, the stock is right now at the lowest point of the day, is about down about 9%, and that's carried the bank nifty as well. Still in the green, but I think when we had that news flash about the ED sources saying that this scam looks bigger than 11,000 crore, that led to that big decline. Weekly options expiry as well. So last hour could get really interesting. Of course, this closing bell. I'm Anuj, with me Surabhi. Hi Surabhi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Anuj. I mean, just when we thought that the international wars are behind us and maybe there could be some semblance of sanity, I mean, things have really gone out of whack in the last 24 hours. Now, what to take away from today's action, given the fact that there's serious selling that's going on in mid-caps? Frontliners, I mean, the market is still struggling, but what do you make of the clear underperformance continuing in mid-caps today?
Like we discussed yesterday as well, obviously there's one pocket which is banks, which is underperforming now, and PSU banks in particular, Surabhi, because you don't know what's happening. There's one news report which says that it could be much bigger than 11,000 crore. Maybe it's not just PNB, other banks are also involved. That's of course the panic part.
I just want to put one more point on record here, since you mentioned that there was that one statement where he made, I mean, we don't have any clarity, but he did say that if investigations find that the onus and the bulk of the problem and the default really was with PNB and its lack of systems, and they will bear the entire liability. But it's all up in the air right now. We don't know which way the investigation goes.
Who knows? And PNB said that we were the first to detect it and we are the first to inform it. I don't know if there's any other bank which is involved, and we don't know and we don't want to speculate. But the short point is that that is going to be a problem with some of these PSU banks. Whether you have recap money or whatever, you don't know what would come out. And PNB, by the way, is now very close. I think the recap day it was at 120, and in 2 days it had a rally from 120 to 220. And from 220 now it's down to 133. It's a sharp, really sharp fall that you have seen. So that's one part. I think for the market overall, Nifty's been fine, and that's because it's got at least some other components which are doing well. Oil marketing companies, for example, Reliance has done well. IT stocks, couple of them at least have done well. So that way things are quite okay. But as we discussed yesterday, the market does not like the word fraud, and this is turning out to be quite big, and that's why PNB, after falling 10%, is down another 10% today. But anyway, crucial hour of trade coming up, because this is weekly options expiry. Ashwani Gujral and Mitesh Thakkar with us now for closing strategies. Good afternoon, Ashwani. You think that the damage is done for the day, or the expiry hour could get brutal according to you?
See, basically, if you see, the high of the bank nifty today is now almost 170 points away. So that way, this is a bearish bar, although you are seeing an 80-point gain. So basically what we have is a continuation bar, and more downside. The prospect of that remains open. Nifty has tested 10,600, 620, the upper end of the range. That has failed from there. So I don't think much has changed, other than the fact that banks tried to construct a rally and that kind of got sold in two. So the issue here is that will PSU banks find buying? My sense is that there will be another episode where people will totally sell down PSU banks, whatever recap or no recap, and that money will move into the retail facing private banks or NBFCs. So that trade continues to play out and will continue to play out in the days ahead. So Bank Nifty for the foreseeable future will remain weak, because although it impacts only PSU banks, if Bank Nifty, gave up 170 points from the highs, other banks also get impacted. They also come up from the highs. So that, shadow remains over all banks. Having said that, Reliance Capital is a sell with a stop of 492, target of 470. Repco Home is a sell with a stop of 579, target of 555. And United Spirits is a buy with a stop of 3300, target of 3450.
So, Ashwani, if I got you right, you're saying that Bank Nifty should be sold at all rallies. And what about Nifty?
See, Nifty is still kind of range bound, but if Bank Nifty starts to break, for example, yesterday's low, then, Nifty will also get into trouble. So, till, yesterday's low is holding on, possibly, Nifty will live to fight another day. But, this sort of news flow, it does not go away. The problem with that is that for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you can continuously keep having new information coming in. And, people will not have any amount of conviction to carry Bank Nifty home from here. Because tomorrow morning, something else is announced. So, you sell first and then take action. So, maybe the banks will not find any buying, even though people may buy HUL or Reliance or any of those stocks.
Okay, take your point, Ashwani. I'm also looking at really where all is the weakness in the mid caps. And it's interesting, of course, beyond PSU banks, wherever there is debt, again, these areas have become no-go zones, at least as far as today's action goes. So GMR, GVK, these stocks are down. Stocks which have had a huge 2017 rally, again, that's where there's caution. So Radico Khaitan, Bhansali Engineering, these are some of the names where we're seeing some red on the screen today. Mitesh Thakkar is also with us. Good afternoon, Mitesh. What is your approach? So on the Nifty Bank and, of course, on the trades that you have for the last hour.
Yeah, good afternoon, Surabhi. I think my sense that we have had the bank, the Nifty hit the upper end of the range. I think Ashwani highlighted that 10,600 about 650 is a zone which we've been highlighting will be very difficult for the Nifty to get past. Having said that, we have started to decline. I think we might head towards 10,400. A break below that should suggest some kind of continuation on the downside. So for the time being, we're still in that range. The worry is the Bank Nifty. I think, it didn't really participate. It didn't really head towards 25,700, 800 zone, which was the upper end of the range, and has turned from the lower end. But again, I think 25,200, 25,150 is an important level to watch out for. So if the Bank Nifty trades there and starts breaking that, then I'll be bearish there. So till then, I think, this kind of choppiness will be expected. I would trade with more of stock specific bias. I have one buy and one sell. Grasping on the half-hourly charts, hourly charts is breaking down. So keep a stop at 1122, look for a target of 1070, take a short trade, and Hindustan Zinc is a buy trade with a stop below 309.5 for targets of 320.
Okay, by the way, just take a look at PNB's intraday chart once again, because there's a second round of selling which is now taking place on PNB, and there was a temporary 10% freeze that it hit, and after that it's resumed its decline. So now about 12% lower is what we have on Punjab National Bank. Ashwani, the recap day was, I think, 120 thereabout. You think it's headed there?
The recap it got was 5,000 crore. The fraud that is there is 11,400. So, there's no comparison here. And like I'm telling you, they'll lose, 1/3 of their value. 20% is already gone. I think it will break 120 or thereabouts.
Anuj, I just want to sort of bring one more point to your notice. Don't want to jump the gun here, but the kind of stocks that are seeing fresh selling, a lot of them already heavily indebted, or a lot of them already going through some sort of, debt restructuring. So GMR, GVK, Reliance Communications, Bhushan Steel, which is one of the NCLT cases, something like Walk Hard, where obviously there's a business issue. So does this suggest an overall sense of caution? Does this suggest that there's a banking problem clearly with PNB and some of the PSU lenders? So there's some caution about these indebted cases, because this is where the big punt was also, right? That let's play for the punt and let's see if you get another JP Associates.
Yeah, the problem with making that, right now is, we are wiser with the hindsight. Now we've seen the stock prices, so, we can say that. And, today the mid-cap index is also down about 220 points. So sometimes, there's temptation to say that, Surabhi. This is, for now, a bank-specific issue. Right now, let's go with that.
Sure.
Obviously, if things deteriorate, then you take a call accordingly. But for now, obviously, on the Bank Nifty, today's weekly expiry as well. And I think we are in the danger of now turning into the red for the Bank Nifty. That's something that you got to keep an eye on. Prakash Diwan is also with us in our studios. Prakash, good afternoon. So what a 2 or 3 days it's been, and we thought that the only risk was global.
Yeah.
We now found out that the bigger risk for this market actually was local.
Yeah, so we tend to manufacture. I mean, this is a make in India thing. So so make in India, including the risk. But what's worrisome is this has happened to one of the largest banks, and it's happened of a scale which you can't gulp down and say, okay, swallow this down and say, okay, this just happens in the course of, it's part of growth pangs for an economy and all that. This is serious stuff. And when it came out yesterday, you see the way, most people were actually stunned into inactivity. And that's why, PNB was spared these blushes, which now you're saying, I mean, and now of course, people
by the way,
are going,
14,
and now of course,
by the way, 14% down on the stock right now. So it's not being spared at all today.
That's yesterday when this happened, and we actually started the day looking more at the NPA recognition norms, the new, RBI this thing policies for all those JLF norms and stuff. But I think the banking segment will take a while to get out of this body blow. So, there will be some domino effect also as the news flow comes. And as you mentioned, every second, third day, there will be some sort of a news flow which will only make things difficult for it to come back. So, till the Bank Nifty participates, I don't think the market's also heading anywhere in a very strong, robust ride upwards. So, you'll probably see a lot of sell-offs in the small caps start deepening very soon.
Okay, 1:3 right now on advanced decline. But Ashwani, again coming back to the same question, because global markets have turned around or are showing signs of turning around. For example, Dow is now up 3 days running. We have seen a big rally in Hang Seng. Do you think this could actually be a decent buying opportunity? Not perhaps in banks, but because there's fall across the board now because of this issue, this could be a buying opportunity for a lot of mid caps, for example, which are falling now.
See, the problem with this is that all other bad news have some sort of defined timeline, have some sort of defined scope. Here, the downside is open-ended. Today we are saying 11,400 subject to investigation. Tomorrow they can come out with a larger figure, or something else can happen. So these things, they tend to assume a life of their own. And that is why it is very difficult to use this as a buying opportunity. In any case, I think the correction has to get below 10,000. But, this is making life even more difficult, and it is also giving you the fodder to break those 10,300 zones at some point and continue on the downside. So that seems to be a more likely scenario. And 2 or 3 days, mid caps outperform. Today they are participating in step. So maybe, another leg of the correction is starting out. So you don't want to prejudge that.
Okay, 13% now on PNB, and there's a crunching fall that you're seeing on that stock now. Repco Home is down about 7%. So a lot of stocks. Bank Nifty is now in the green by just about 10 points.
We've got a 1.5% decline on the mid-cap index, and the Nifty Bank is now in the red. You've got a 26-point decline there. By the way, it's not just banks. I just wanted to draw your attention to this. I mean, till yesterday we were talking about at least NBFC is doing better. But look at the bluest of blue chip NBFCs, Bajaj Finance, and there's more selling coming in there.
Oh, yes.
PNB Housing there, as we see it on the screen, yeah. I mean, not that this is the bluest
you don't want to be a PNB right now. You don't want to have Punjab, on that. But anyway, Surabhi, today's weekly options expiry as well, so things are getting a bit accentuated as well on Bank Nifty. And today you could have that 3 p.m. move on the Bank Nifty, because my sense is, people would have been stuck both ways, and today is that kind of a day. So in that sense, the move on the Bank Nifty is also accentuated by that. And normally, if you have a trending move, that gets accentuated on the expiry because of the selling pressure. But do take your point, a lot of these other stocks are also falling quite a bit. For example, take a look at Motherson Sumi now. That stock is at the low point. CG Power is at low point. Amara Raja. So a couple of these stocks not looking good. Prakash, PNB's, as we speak, is now very close to its recap day low.
Yeah.
But the fact is that, we are talking about the second largest PSU bank. At some point, do you buy it? I mean, that also is going to be a logical question, because it's fallen non-stop from that high of 220 to now 125 thereabout.
So, if you see even the institutional ownership, so many large mutual fund schemes, in fact, HDFC Prudence has one of the largest exposures to this name, and it's not something that you can ignore if you were to kind of keep your maintain your weightages on the index. But my sense is people will not be in a hurry to do this, Anuj, till there's enough clarity, and I would look at it like this: whether even if it moves up another 10-15% after all the damage has been done and there's imminent visibility on repair, only then people would kind of stick their necks out and start writing checks. But otherwise, till then, not just PNB, but I think even the largest banks are going to be not touched by most of the large investors, for the simple reason that the next worry is contagion. There's no need to speculate and to kind of give too much of credits to that possibility. But this is not going to be just ending at one bank. So how it gets approached by the government, by the RBI, there are lots of issues related to the system as a whole. So I think it's going to test a lot of things out very clearly. Until then, it's a stay away sector.
Okay, take your point. There are just way too many wheels within wheels, I think, in the story right now. Let's get some more trading ideas going then. We've got Sandeep Agle joining us this afternoon as always. Good afternoon, Sandeep. Tough day for the bulls once again. What are your trades?
Afternoon, Surabhi. I would go with a sell in a Jet Airways, stop loss of 765, target of 720, and a buy in a Hindalco, stop loss 248, target 258.
Thanks a lot, Sandeep, for those trading ideas. Some bit of recovery now on the bank Nifty. 25,360 is what we have right now on the bank Nifty. And if you take a look at the Nifty, that's up about 30 points. Sensex is up about 100 points. The mid-cap index down about 250 points right now. Let's do one thing. Let's get some mid-cap ideas because mid-caps have done well in general. Pankaj Pandey, Head of Research at ICICI Direct, now joins us. Pankaj, good afternoon. Good to have you on the show. Let's discuss some stock ideas first from your house. NRB Bearing, that's an interesting one. Take us through the rationale and your price targets here.
Hi, good afternoon, Anuj. See, on NRB Bearings, we have a target price of 215. Last quarter, the company came out with very strong set of numbers, with top line growing by about 25%, margins expanded to about 19.5%, bottom line more than doubled to about 21 odd crores. Now we like the stock because they've got a good exposure towards the entire auto space. Auto as a space contributes about 62% of their top line, and they're the market leader with 70% market share in needle bearing segment, and largely they derive their demand from two-wheelers and four-wheelers and commercial vehicle segment. I think the prospects of all these three segments appear quite bright going forward as well, and which is why we expect that the company will keep doing well. The company is incurring a capex of about 50 odd crores and is available at a decent valuation of about 16.5 times. So going forward, we would expect this company to do well with a revenue growth of about 13 odd % and profit growth could be about 23 odd %. And with better growth and decent multiples, we like this stock as it is a good proxy on the overall auto play.
Okay, that's one pick. Pankaj, good afternoon. You also seem to like TCI Express. Now, the stock has had a decent run. It's done about 70-75% in the last 1 year. What are the fresh triggers that could take it higher?
Hi, good afternoon, Surbi. I think TCI Express within the entire logistics space appears to be quite attractive from the fact that it is asset light in terms of business model. 95% of their fleet is on a contractual basis. They have got one of the highest ROCs in the entire logistic space at about 35 odd %. Now, prior to FY16, this company was growing in the range of about 6-7 odd % in line with the industry growth rate. And after that, the company got demerged. And post that, the company started investing. So after that, they invested about 96 odd crores, and the growth has picked up to about mid-teens, 15-16 odd % compared to the industry growth rate of about 6-7 odd %. Now, what the company is looking to do is that in the next 5 years, they are looking to do capex of about 400 odd crores till 2022. Now, because of this capex, their capacity will get expanded from about 7.6 million ton to about 14 million tons. Now, largely bulk of this capex is going to happen in sorting centers or towards procuring handling equipment. And so the basic DNA of the company does not change in terms of being asset light. And overall, that should lead to good top line growth of about 16%. We expect a decent margin expansion also to about 12%. Last quarter, they had clocked about 10.5%. And bottom line growth is expected to be fairly good at about 27%. Like you said, the stock has done well, but I think the strong visibility in the next 4-5 years, and it's a good play on the overall logistics space being implemented, and then e-way bill also making its way going forward. So from that perspective, this stock looks quite attractive to us with a target price of about 660.
Okay, Pankaj, stay on. We'll discuss a couple of more ideas with you. For now, let's see if there's a 3 p.m. move on the bank nifty today. It doesn't look like that. At least for now, things are stabilizing. So if you thought, maybe it was going to go below 25,300, that's not happening. In fact, now a bit of a stability in the green now is what we have on the bank nifty, and of course on the nifty at about 34 points higher is what we have. So looks like the damage for the day at least is over. Pankaj, what about your final pick, KEC International?
So we like the entire infra space. In fact, the government's focus on infra in the next 4-5 years is going to be substantially high. In fact, the government is looking to do overall capex of or drive overall capex of about 48 lakh odd crores. And I think this company, if you look at, would be a has been a beneficiary of it and will continue to benefit from it. Now, if you look at prior to FY16, a company like this used to get orders to the tune of about 7,000 to 8,000 odd crores. Now, what has happened now is that in the last 2 years, the order inflow has picked up quite well. In fact, in the first 9 months, the order inflow has been upwards of 31% odd to 11,300 odd crores. In addition to that, they've got an 11 status of about 4,000 odd crores. So this year, the order book could be about 15,300 odd crores. We expect a similar kind of order flow in FY19 as well. Now, overall, from a margin perspective also, we expect a slight improvement in the margins. But what we have seen is that with strong order inflows and good execution, I think the growth in the top line would be fairly robust. And same would be the case in the case of bottom line. And on the debt equity side, the company has managed its working capital situation quite well. So their debt equity ratio on a forward basis would be below 1, so which is quite attractive with a profit growth of nearly 20 odd % and top line growth of about 18 odd %. If you will, this stock though has done well, but will continue to do well because order inflows across all most of the EPC players, if you look at, has been quite robust for the next 1 year. So from that perspective, I think this stock will continue to benefit along with other EPC players.
Okay, Pankaj, we let you go on that note. Thanks a lot for your time today. That's some investment ideas from ICICIdirect.com. By the way, I want to just make a point here, Surabhi. Weekly options expiry, and this expiry really has been a delight of the option writers, because despite all the volatility intraday, the bank nifty is ending flat, 10 points lower, and this is the best case outcome for all the option writers, because if you take a look at all the calls, 25,600, 500, 300, 20,400, all these call premiums are down 99%. If you take a look at puts, yes, in case of couple of puts, you have seen a bit of an increase, but mostly they're down about 75 to 95%. So in that sense, it's really been, that's of course for the, this one is, I think, for the, for today's expiry. Most of these options have now moved to 5 paise, 10 paise, or, have given up 99%, 98%. Essentially, if you wrote these options yesterday, you have made this kind of money, but of course, easier said than done. But I just want to point out that it's really been quite interesting. But before we take a break, let's take some more thoughts. Prakash, in terms of individual stocks, the mid-cap action is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because we've seen a big rally. but today, of course, there's a bit of a decline. Anything that you would want to buy at lower levels?
Oh, sure. So, we are looking at some of the, what's happened is it's just been about 14 days that the budget came through. And in these 2 weeks, there's so much that's happened that we've kind of almost forgotten that there were lots of, mildly positive cues also which came through. One of the things, of course, on the rural spend and agri spend, and the entire focus on rural infrastructure was L&T Finance holding. And what I liked about this was that as a pocket, there are going to be very few NBFCs which will participate in the next up move. So it's going to be selective. It's not broad-based, unlike last year. 2017 was a great year for NBFCs as well. So L&T Finance, with the recent rights, this thing where the parent has committed a significant amount of money at almost current market price levels, is a very clear indication that things are strong. And Anuj, the other thing is the mid-cap, small-cap IT pocket is something that's kind of coming back in terms of preferences. So look at the likes of Sonata or an HCL Info. They've made FSL. They've made very quiet comebacks of sorts, and then all of them are up in this carnage about 20-25%. So we would definitely even recommend looking at that space a bit more actively.
On NBFCs, Mitesh, if I could just get your thoughts, because this is the one space that's getting whiplash today. I mean, for instance, there's buying emerging at lower levels on a Bajaj Finance. That's one interesting intraday graph to look at. There's buying back on Edelweiss. Stock is still negative, but there's some buyers at lower levels. Any thoughts on these two?
I think the chart structure hasn't really improved for Bajaj Finance. I think, or Edelweiss. I think Edelweiss needs to start getting past 280 to show strength, and similarly, I think Bajaj Finance also is trading below key averages, and I think only above 1720 will some kind of strength come in. Yes, they are outperforming in the sense that they are not facing the damage badly, but they might still not be able to give you absolute movement on the upside in the short term. So I would not be very positive, but when you're looking at stocks which you want to go short upon, then possibly you'll avoid these stocks clearly because they're showing more strength than their peers.
Okay, by the way, just want to point out that we have made a move back towards 25,400 on the bank nifty. For whatever it's worth, we've got a bit slightly decoupled off the global cues. The Dow futures are up 200 points, and we've had 3 days of back-to-back rally.